It has literally never been easier than it is today to join the top 1%. And I don't mean just in terms of wealth and income, although that's entirely possible as well. I mean, there are literally thousands of new millionaires created every single day, and there's almost literally no reason why you can't be one of them. And later on in this video, I'm going to actually lay out a different strategy that might even be better than trying to break into that top 1% at all. And, I'm not talking about settling or like being okay with less. That's not it at all. This is a totally new way of thinking that I just happened upon while reading a book, years ago that I never had, like, I had no idea that I would enjoy it as much as I did, and now I recommend this book all the time. And so we're going to talk about that later on in the video. Returning viewers to this channel know that my goal this year is to read 200 books and get my business up to $25,000 a month in top line revenue. And obviously, neither one of those things is easy. Like, I consider myself one of the good guys of social media. I'm never going to sell you an impossible dream that's like, I'm never going to tell you that it's easy when it's not. So this is me showing you that it's possible. Reading 200 books a year and fitting in 300 workouts a year as I'm growing my business and scaling it all the way to 25,000 a month. And so this video right here is about book number 2 that I finished. It's called, appropriately enough, it's called The Top 1% by Dan Strutzel. And so for people who don't know who that is, including me, about 5 days ago, I literally had no idea who this guy was. I wasn't even able to find a photo of him on the internet, but he was the VP of Nightingale Conant Publishing. And you may have heard of Earl Nightingale. He wrote The Strangest Secret and The 6-Word Secret to Success, both of which I highly recommend, even though I don't love the titles. And this book represents an entirely new way of thinking about the 1% and your chances of joining it and the desirability of even doing so. Because, they inspire, depending on, like, it's a weird thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's, even within the same individual, you've got somebody who desperately wants to be a part of that group, but then secretly feels that they're all, crooks and scam artists and like horrible people who are like taking advantage of the 99%. Whereas, like, that's not necessarily the truth. It's funny, the foreword to this book was written by a guy named Dave Anderson, and he said something in the foreword that I quite liked. And he said, "If I became a part of this top 1%, it happened only because of my desire to serve the 99%. So how I would explain this is that, obviously, you already are, probably, painfully aware of the problems of, capitalism and basically taking advantage of, of workers who like make basically nothing while, CEOs or whatever, like they draw like the huge salaries while seemingly not contributing very much, or at least not as much as like the frontline workers who can't like afford groceries or whatever. That being said, a major part of how people get rich under the capitalist system is by serving other people, by making other people's lives better, and ideally at scale. There's another excellent book called The Millionaire Fastlane, and basically the author, MJ DeMarco, he talks about the scale and magnitude. So, scale would be something like Starbucks. So, Starbucks is a billion-dollar company. They make millions of people's lives a little bit better every single day on a very small scale. So they've got scale just by virtue of like the number of customers that they have. So they don't have to have customers spending like $100 a day for them to make a lot of money because they have so many customers. And on the other side, you've got something like a heart surgeon. He can physically only perform like so many surgeries a day, but the impact, like the magnitude of his contribution is enormous on one person's life, like the person whose life that he saves, and that is why surgeons are able to command such higher salaries and gain entry into that top 1% in terms of wealth and income, scale and magnitude. So joining the top 1% is really only a math problem. You help 1,000,000 people with a very small problem, or you help 1,000 people with a bigger problem. If 1,000,000 people each give you $1, or 1,000 people give you $1,000, that's 1,000,000. But what I loved about Dan's book is his focus on the qualities of many of the top 1% that don't get talked about nearly enough. Things like commitment, like radical, unwavering, like solid commitment to getting to where they want to go. Things like resilience in the face of, adversity or, opposition. Like an astonishing number of people who, you would identify as being part of like the 1% had, periods in their lives where, like they went completely without. For some of them, it was a matter of like not being able to like afford rent while they were growing their business, or like just having to make all these like wild sacrifices in terms of like, quality of life in order to sort of gain that better future, like build that better future for themselves. But then on the other side, you've got, people who, had, $200,000 in payroll that was supposed to go out, and they had their like payment processor like shut them down randomly for like a false alarm or something like that. So many of these high level entrepreneurs and business people have stories like that. And so it takes resilience to overcome all of that. And, you have to build that if you want to stand any sort of chance of, not only getting to that 1% level in terms of income, but actually staying there. And that's a whole different thing. I mean, one of the things he points out in the book is that, top 1% is an astonishingly fluid group of people. You have people, entering and leaving that top 1%, pretty consistently, like all the time. You've got like, lottery winners that, blow it all, and all variations on that story of building it and losing it and building it again and losing it again. But what I really, really loved about Dan's book is his focus on the other intangibles of these sort of 1% people. And like, you don't get to that high level without being the kind of person that people trust with large sums of money, right? If you're trustworthy, if you have a sense of decency, like, your reputation is basically everything. And it travels at the speed of light. And I mean, I can recommend a ton of books on, reputation and networking and sort of network building. One is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And the other one, another excellent recent book, is What's in It for Them by Joe Polish. And so like those guys, right? Like, they've written spectacular books about this, but like, these are all high level people who, have built such immense trust and basically faith in themselves when it comes to like how other people view them. And like, that really is everything. So there's a focus on, decency in this book that is just, it's something that a lot of people don't really think about. And there's that book that I mentioned in the beginning. It's this one. It's How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big by the cartoonist Scott Adams. And so I never thought that I'd enjoy this book as much as I did. I read this book, and he talks about how difficult it is to break into this, top 1% in any sort of marketable skill or professional field that you want to enter. So, for him, he's a cartoonist. He was behind the Dilbert comic strips. And so the way he put it is that there are so many people who are better artists than he is, but he's pretty good. He can draw. And there are plenty of people that are much funnier than he is, but he's pretty funny. And it's the intersection of those two skills that he was able to combine into something extraordinarily special that that led to an amazing career. And Dilbert's been syndicated in like 2,000 newspapers, and now he's got this side business of being a restaurant entrepreneur and a public speaker. Like, all of these opportunities came as a result of him entering the top 10% in two fields and combining them into something new and special, and something that was extraordinarily lucrative, and more so than if he had tried to be like the funniest comedian ever or the most phenomenal artist ever. Like, that is an incredibly, or much more difficult top 1% to break into. But breaking into the top 10% and combining them into a unique combination is a lot more a lot, I don't want to say easier, but it's an option that most people just don't even consider. So The Top 1% by Dan Strutzel's book, I recommend. It was book number 2 of 200 for 2024. And, today's January 15th, so I'm a little bit behind. But what I do is I read several books at once, and like, it's not as hard as you might think. I mean, when you were in school, you didn't have like English for 2 months and then math for 2 months. Like, you had English class in the morning and then math class in the afternoon. Like, you can read two things at the same time. And so I'm further along in a few different books. So I'm almost sort of on pace, maybe a little bit behind my goal, but I just have to sort of step it up in the future. And basically, I mean, I'm doing that right now. Growing my business, working like obviously every single day. That is just entry fee basically for growing a business in the beginning. I've been doing this for a couple years, but still I'm relatively new-ish. I'd say under 5 years is new for business. And so yeah, I mean, I work all day every day. I worked all day yesterday, and it doesn't even matter what day that I'm recording this. Like, it's going to be true that I worked all day yesterday, but it happens so often that I will work all day and I'll go to bed excited to wake up in the morning and do it all over again. And that doesn't seem real, but it is. And like, it all depends on what you're doing. And like, that would not be true if I took the advice of these average, like normal people, that, some of them wanted the best for me, some of them didn't. And, they give me horrible advice about, just like what I should do and like how I should, direct my life and make money and everything, and like what I should do professionally. And I had to ignore all of that and build my own career, start my own business. And look, I mean, this year I'm gonna crack 25K a month, and it's like, what are they even doing, right? So, but hey, I'll stop myself there, except to tell you about the giveaway that I'm running this entire month with a few friends of mine. And basically, it's we're giving away something like $33,000 worth of books and memberships. You get a 12-month membership to Audible, and 12 months of Masterclass, and another Habit app, and a few other memberships and stuff like that. 10 winners get 5 books each. All that stuff. And literally all you have to do to enter is to sign up to my newsletter and the newsletter of my 2 friends, Cody and Merritt, who I'm running the giveaway with. And I mean, I probably shouldn't tell you this. You can just unsubscribe anytime, but to enter, you have to be subscribed to the newsletters. So you can find the giveaway link in the description. But if you're wondering how I find the time to read 200 books every single year, work insane hours on my business, go to the gym like 5 days a week and just like push really hard and like get all my meals in, see my family and like do all these things, I put the answers to all of your questions basically about time management in my online course, which is called Time Mastery, and you can find that down in the description as well. So that's really going to help you out if you struggle with finding the time for what's most important to you. And like, I'm fanatical about time, and like I do not waste my time and like or squander it on like stupid silly shit. And like I hate to see other people do that too. So like, this isn't a course where it's like, oh, I can make a bunch of money by telling people how to save time. Like, this is something that I care deeply about, and it could really help you. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. I want you to come back for more videos like this. I'm experimenting with a new style where it's more like conversational. You'll see, I mean, tons of creators do that on YouTube now, kind of following the Sam Sulek style of video, where it's more like, you're just on FaceTime with somebody who's like, a good friend, chatting about books and business. And so that's what this is. If you enjoyed this style of video, I want you to come back. But thanks very much for watching this one. And hey, happy reading.
Waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable.